Hello, everybody. My name is Bill Warner, and I'm with EntreDot, and I'm very pleased to talk to you tonight on our very first Go Live program, Facebook Live. So forgive me if I goof up a little bit and I don't look at the camera quite as much as I should, but I've been coached to how to do this the right way. The question is, will I really do that or not? So welcome you to the program. Hey, look, today, well, let me start with just an introduction of myself. You don't know me from a hole in the wall, perhaps, but EntreDot is a nonprofit organization that provides mentorship to people who want to start and operate their own business. And this mentoring program can be delivered to you in lots of different forms, but all in the interest of helping you get a business up and running. From nothingness, perhaps. You can come to us with an idea, not much more, or a half-baked business with it partially planned, and you need help. We'll help you. Or you may have an already up and running business and need help to expand it or otherwise. We've been a nonprofit for now 11 years and still going strong. We've mentored hundreds and hundreds of people, and we'd be glad to help you as well. But I intend to have these Facebook Live programs every week or two. But we'll post out and let you know when. But a little about me personally, I'm a former and retired executive of IBM and Intel, so I come out of the computer industry. What the heck do I know about marketing, huh? You might be asking. Well, I know some things, but I've also, since leaving the big corporate world, I've now worked in several other much smaller companies, including startups. So I've had the perspective of me and a founder and some money from angel investors to top level positions at IBM and Intel, and a lot of things in between. So I kind of bring a unique perspective to things. I know what you're doing now if you're doing a startup, and I know kind of what it's all about, where you're headed. So I usually can provide good advice, and I try to do so. So that's a little bit about me. And I look forward to taking you through this Facebook Live program, which is all about marketing lead generation. Now, this is going to be very basic, but I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs that don't understand what I'm about to tell you. So I've tried to organize this in a way that kind of provides a simple understanding of how marketing lead generation is done and what the considerations are. So let's get started. So at the basis of everything you do in marketing lead generation, any marketing programs you have, you got to know who your customer is. Pretty simple, huh? You got to know the target. Who am I going after? So you need to establish this target and in some detail. It takes market research to do this stuff. And it takes market engagement for you to figure this out. So you got to do the traditional market analysis and segmentation and get yourself narrowed in on where your buyer is. In marketing lingo, maybe old-fashioned marketing lingo, that's the economic buyer, the person that is going to make the buying decision and write the check or electronically transfer the money, however you're paid. But you got to narrow your market definition precisely into, as it's probably too strong, as precisely as you can get it, with all the demographics of who this buyer is. This is, it gets down to, on average, what's their income, what companies do they work for, what positions do they hold, things like that. So you can later on use that kind of information when you want to create some advertising programs that you need profile information for about the kind of people you want to reach in your advertising. That's why you do the research to figure this out first. Then you want to also know about their preferences. I call it preferences, but you want to know about their needs for the kind of problem that you solve, what their urgency is for solving it, whether they have a budget to pay for it, Who influences their decision? Where do they go to get information about people that can provide solutions to their needs or can fulfill their needs? But all of this kind of work is done by market research and you actually engaging with customers during that research. You talk to them, interview them, you find out these things. I'll tell you something. The more you can figure this kind of stuff out before you actually get into these marketing programs, or better yet, before you start developing your product or service, you probably ought to know their needs and their preferences. So for marketing purposes, the line of questioning that you've got to focus on is how do they find out, where do they go to get information? How do they find out about the services and or products that they need? You want to know that. Oh, so are they predominantly just Google people? Are they really, is this economic buyer mainly a Facebook person or a LinkedIn person or none of that? You reach them by email, whatever. You want to know how they find information and you want to know who influences them. What kind of people? Do they take advice from consultants? What trade rags do they read? What groups are they in? Who do they hang out with in terms of these groups? What kind of individuals? But all said and done, after you've done this, you have the basis for a good understanding so you can properly construct and execute the right marketing lead generation program for your business. So that's what you start with. This is kind of jacks are better at a poker game. If you don't know these things, it's impossible to effectively come up with a lead generation program of any kind. If you do, it's going to be hit or miss. You're going to be lucky or probably more likely unlucky in reaching them. So with that understanding and with those sets of assumptions about what you need to have before you even contemplate what your lead generation program is, let's get into lead generation. I'm going to take questions at the end of this. I see I already have one, but I'll be getting to those and a couple others that people asked me about before we open live here. So in my view, and I take a simple-minded view of this stuff, is there's 3 steps to lead generation. There's the awareness step, the validation step, and the conversion step, at the end of which you have a qualified lead. Let me go through each one of them. So we're talking about awareness. It's the first step in marketing lead generation. So we know who to reach. The objective here is to reach this potential buyer by making them aware some way that you exist, that you have products and you have services, and you're going to do something to incentivize them to take what we call a call to action, some form of response to your awareness program. So we're going to try to contact them and get them to take an action that contacts us. That's the call to action. So let me go through the various kinds of campaigns that you could consider. These campaigns, generally speaking, are doing 2 or 3 simple things. They're trying to reach people you know, perhaps, that you want to sell to. Reach people you don't know, never met them in your life, but they fulfill your profile. But reaching people you don't know, probably through advertising, is pretty simple. And thirdly, to reach people you don't know, but through people you know, by referral. Generally, those are the 3 approaches. Now let's go down into the weeds here a little bit. One very common campaign is an email marketing campaign. It's reaching out to people you know, of course, because you need their email address. It's hard to send an email to somebody you don't have an email address for, unless you buy email addresses. I don't recommend that, but for the people you know, you can send a newsletter, You can send an email that points to a blog article you've written on your website. You can publish a video on Facebook Live, send them an email to say, oh, hey, I just did this on Facebook Live. I thought you'd be interested. But these are direct emails. You probably use some platform like MailChimp to make it easy for yourself, and some easy to use CRM package so you keep track of all this stuff, like Agile or HubSpot or others. Those are pretty simple and not terribly expensive. There are others that are much more sophisticated and much more expensive. But this email campaign is to reach a person you know, and generally speaking, do something good for them. Send them some interesting information, your newsletter, make special requests of them, and put in a call to action. I'm going to talk about every one of these I'm going to go through, it ends with a call to action. I'm going to talk about calls to action in just a minute though. So the email campaign creates interest with the people you know. Then I'm going to switch to content marketing. This is a fancy term somebody made up. It means you send interesting information on the internet, like news articles. You write articles and publish them. You write blog articles and they sit on your website. You do videos, just like I said before, and you post them on your website or you provide them in an email. But you're using this great and interesting content that you have produced to bring to the public, perhaps on Facebook or LinkedIn or Google, interesting things you write to get other people that you don't know interested in your content. And you'll have a compelling call to action to get them to contact you. But contact marketing you can think of as send great and interesting, compelling stuff to a lot of people you don't know by reaching out over internet platforms where a lot of people are. If you have a lot of followers on LinkedIn and or Facebook and or Instagram, the more you have, the more the merrier. You're going to be reaching a lot of people. And guess what happens when you reach them? They're going to like what you did, and they're going to click on like or comment, and that goes out to all their people. And you're going to tag people's names, and it goes out to them too. It's a wonderful world that if you really think about using content marketing and some of these other things I'm about to talk about to reach a lot of people you don't know. But it's also going to start with people you do know on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and whatever else you're on. Social media marketing, the third one, is all about doing online posting, social media posting, where you see something interesting that has been written by someone else, and you like it, and you make a comment on it, right on top of the article, right in the platform, and you send it. So you'll add text. If you're really good, you add a video to it to make it even more interesting, and quite frankly, you get a lot more viewers the more video content you have. I'm going to say this probably 17 more times, if you let me, because video is where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. So social media marketing is simply reaching out over social media channels, starting with your own, posting on articles that have been written by others, providing your own live broadcasts like we're doing right now. You can do your own. This is my first time, and I'm not sure I've made a mistake yet, but I don't think I have. This seems like a good platform to be on. So reaching out over social media is the third way. Now, the good thing about those three I just mentioned is they don't cost too much, particularly if you can do these yourself. I'm not I'm not a techno-weenie. I am reasonably smart. I can read and view YouTube videos and things like that and figure out how to do these things. It's easy stuff. It is time consuming. So these first three marketing channels, if you will, don't cost a lot of money, but they will cost you time. You may have to pay somebody to do it for you if you choose not to. But the fourth one definitely does cost you money. It's advertising, online advertising. And you enter that game with a profile of the people you want to reach, so Facebook can find them. But you can reach out over advertising on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Google AdWords. These all cost money, but they work. The secret to this sauce is that the profiles are done well. And you do them repeatedly. One-time ads probably aren't going to get you too far. If you're expecting a round of applause in your first ad, you're not going to get one. You're probably not going to do it right, or it's going to be low yield. Advertising on the internet is not an exact science. It's trial and error. You learn by doing. So you ought to be thinking about a budget that's north of a couple $1,000s to really do this right. Much less than that, it's going to be less effective, and if you can't afford this, you're going to have difficulty with your business in general. So the next one is referrals, referral programs, I call them, or referral relationships. Some people call them advocates. I call them referral agents. These are people, of course, you know, and they're very special people. People that know you well, they trust you, they support what your business is trying to do, and they are willing, because you've asked them, to refer you to people they know that may need your product or services. And this referral relationship is built on trust. It is a relationship. It's a relationship you nourish month after month after month by thinking of them, by doing nice things for them, giving them interesting information, answering their questions, helping them in some way. You don't need to go overboard with it, but you're nurturing a friendship. Think of it that way. And you're not going to charge them money for this. They're not going to ask for money. You're not going to ask them for money if they give you a referral. It's built on a trusting relationship. These are people that you take care of. It's a dozen or more. It may get bigger and bigger over time, but start nurturing a relationship with the people that you know that really love what you're doing, like you, trust you, and are willing to give you some help. You do the same for them. It's mutual, they're reciprocal. You don't keep score, you just do the right thing at the right time. And you trust each other that you will. That's what a referral network is all about. Don't call people up and say, will you give me a referral to such and such a place? To just anyone. I don't urge you to say that to anyone, even your referral agents. But you sometimes have to ask that, do you know somebody at such and such a company? I would like to be in contact with them. If they do, they'll help you. Anyway, there's a lot to be said about referrals. It's a very important part of your marketing program. The final one I'd like to mention is the age-old networking event, or a speaking engagement, or going to trade shows, either as a participant or just a visitor. In any of these cases, you do what you're going to do at the event, speaking engagement or trade show, and you work the room. That's what I call it. You meet people. You work the room, person by person by person. You talk to them. You plan on talking to them for no more than 5 minutes. And in the first 2, you'll determine whether you want to talk for the next 3 of those minutes. And you do this by having a conversation that starts with, how are you doing? Did you enjoy the show? Did you enjoy the speaker? Whatever you could ask them that's relevant to the moment. And then followed shortly thereafter by asking them, well, what field are they in? Or what do they do? What business are they in? Something like that to get them talking about their business. And if they look like they are in a business that you're going to be able to help, and they're explaining a situation that you can help in, you've probably got yourself a lead that's somewhat qualified. And you simply end the conversation by saying, I'd love to talk to you more and learn more about it, and I'll contact you tomorrow. You trade cards. By that night or first thing the next morning, you email them, making an appointment with them. That's how you handle events, speaking engagements, and trade shows. Now, there's a lot more you can do at a trade show, of course. Speaking engagements are great ways to meet people because you're in charge of the audience. You can give them things and incentivize them to come up and talk to you. At events, you got to hunt them down, and it can be done. So those are the in my opinion, the major 6 marketing channels or way to reach people. And then you close it by a call to action, as I mentioned earlier. Give them something that they need to act upon to contact you. That could be, hey, would you like my latest newsletter? Would you like my most recent case study or white paper? Something that incentivizes them to contact you through whatever these means you contacted them. So that you close the loop. You get the call to action, and they contact you, and you make an appointment to take this conversation further. Now, as you're probably picking up on, I'm talking mainly about business-to-business kinds of companies. All of what I've said so far applies to B2C as well. So, with some exceptions, as you'll see later, the sales process is a whole lot shorter, something like 2 minutes as you put it in your cart and pay for it. But in B2B, now you're talking about a relationship kind of sell where you're going to have to be talking to somebody. So in either case, B2B or B2C, the next thing that's going to happen is they are going to proceed to check you out. You're not qualifying them quite yet, because before they respond to that call to action, they're going to do something to say, well, who are these people? Who is this guy who sent me this wonderful newsletter or blog article? So the way they're going to do that is go probably a number of ways, but they're checking out your credibility. And it's very important that wherever they go to check you out and evaluate you and your business before they do anything more. They may decide after seeing what you have to offer them that they don't want any part of it. So you got to be careful on wherever people may go, and you know what they are without me even telling you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It's your website, first and foremost. They'll find your website and take a look at it. And if it's a piece of garbage, incoherent, and doesn't do a very good job of explaining your main marketing messages and lead them through a logical presentation of what you do for them as potential customers, the relationship will end there. So if you don't have a good website, man, get on it. But next is they may go to your LinkedIn profile. I've seen some pretty lousy LinkedIn profiles that aren't done very well, not up to date. If you're going to be on LinkedIn, be right on LinkedIn. Be current. So keep your LinkedIn profile up to date and just as compelling as your website. It's important. And everybody you meet, you follow on LinkedIn. Make it a kind of a premise for how you do business. I meet somebody, I get their card, I follow them on LinkedIn, put their email in my MailChimp, and I'm off and running. But they may go to Facebook too to see what kind of person you are. What kind of posts does he do or she do? And they'll look, and what they'll see is what they'll see. So if you're talking junk and trash on Facebook, you might turn them off. I told my granddaughter that when she was shocked. She's in business now. Said, oh my God, I got to go delete a bunch of posts or something. I think that's what she was thinking. But the final thing is they may ask other people that might know you. So that's good. It's good that you never burn a bridge. And all the people you meet, you treat fairly be upbeat when you talk to them. Even though you may not want to do business with them, you don't burn them up in the process. So there's 4 ways that they're going to check you out. Primarily the website, I think secondarily LinkedIn, and maybe that's as far as they go. Before they say, okay, I'll take this call to action and next. You get it. You receive the call to action in some way. It comes to you probably on your website or a landing page if you created one. Wherever you sent them, it could have been a contact inside your website. They fill out the contact form and you find out that way. Or they make an appointment with you off your website. A dozen different ways this action winds up on your desk whereby you start a conversation with them to what I call convert them to a qualified lead. Take the call to action and qualify them by responding to them. Now, if you need a little bit of an education of what qualification means, let me give it a shot here. When you have this conversation with this person who has just checked you out and thinks that you got something they might need, you just start by getting to know them. Carry on first 5 to 8 minutes, just getting to know each other. Then you start a line of questioning that leads with establishing that they have a need, and a compelling need at that, for what you're selling. So they're going to describe the need they have. It could be an opportunity, it could be a problem they need solved, but you're going to listen to them. You're going to ask them these questions, you're going to listen to them and get clear what is this issue, or what are the issues they have that they need help with. You must understand that first. I wouldn't advise you to say anything more, in fact, say nothing more than asking them questions until you damn well understand what it is they need. Because if you blurt anything out before then, you could look very stupid and turn them off and be talking about something that's totally irrelevant. Listen before you engage with what your solution is. Then you explain it once you have that understanding. And that understanding that you've gotten, you can tailor based upon what they said their issues are. You explain your solution, you determine that they like it. They'd like to know more. They think they might be able to use it. You want to also determine, well, okay, is the need you have for this urgent? Is it now? Or is it some future direction you want to head in someday? So you want to get a sense of urgency, the timing of when they need what it is they say they need. A lot of people say they need stuff. The question is, do they need it now? And the next thing you want to know is, do they have the wherewithal to pay for it? You simply ask, is this something that's in your budget this year or this quarter, or is it something further out in time? So the final thing you want to know is a little bit about, is there a clear process that they have in mind for how closure would occur? You don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but you want to have some basic understanding of what the next steps are. That's what you're listening for. That's qualification. And too many people I meet don't bother to ask these really fundamental things and find themselves wasting their time on prospects that are going to go nowhere. They either don't have the need, their need is way out in the future, they don't have money to pay for it, and they're not very clear about how the heck they would buy it, how they would decide how they would buy it. So when you finish this conversation, and this is a phone conversation or a Zoom conversation or something like that, or face-to-face at your office or a coffee shop or something like that, this could take upwards to 45 minutes. I wouldn't let it drag on. This is not a happy-go-lucky meeting. This is a business meeting. You want to cut to the chase in a reasonable way and get the closure on whether or not they're qualified or not, and you're going to determine that. So if they're not qualified, don't burn them up. Don't burn this bridge, in other words. Give them something, send them a copy of your latest newsletter, put them on your email list with their permission, and stay in communication with them and the emails that you send out in the future. as you send your newsletter. Don't lose track of them. If they are qualified, marketing lead generation is done. You're going to now proceed to the sales process and make an appointment for a sales call, hopefully within several days. So those are the 3 steps. It took me about 30 minutes to explain this. It's about what I estimated. It looks like we actually have an audience. Holy smokes, I'm impressed. So I want to look over here, if you don't mind. I have one question from someone. Where does someone start to figure out who their target audience is? Where does someone start to figure it out? My glib answer to that is you start by talking to them. But the market research work you do is I have people let Google be their friend and reach out on Google to look for industry reports, check out the kinds of companies that you're talking about and see what you find. There are lots of kind of industry information. I always, often I use the census data, and coupled with state information, like state of North Carolina and other states, when it comes to demographics, that usually works out quite well. But the proof of the pudding, you gotta love it all, is meeting them and talking to them. Engage the market, do all of this clerical work to get educated on your market, its size and its growth, and the trends that affect it, what could affect it in the future, all that kind of stuff. But what you really want to know is face-to-face discussions and a set of questions that ask about the issues that you think you want to solve for them and get their feedback. It's essential that you do it that way. So that's my answer to where do I go? I'm not sure that's exactly what the intent of the question is. One person has asked me, well, what about e-commerce? You mentioned it, but you didn't say much about it. But look, the whole process of creating awareness is pretty much the same. You've got to know who the buyer is and all that stuff. And you're going to use one or more of those channels to reach the potential buyer of this product that you're selling online, whether it's jewelry or furniture or whatever. So awareness is the same. Validation is too. Before they buy anything, they're going to check out your website and check who you're out. They'll go to the management team page of your website and then go right over to LinkedIn and see who the hell you are. And go to Facebook and check that out too. Then the qualification process is you're not engaged with, this is online retail. You're not going to be talking to them, else your marketing and sales costs are going to go through the roof. They're going to decide to buy whatever you've got based on the information you've provided. So an e-commerce website is a very elaborate animal. But after they've checked you out, this validation process, they decide to buy or not. And the call to action is put it in the cart, proceed to pay, and then you ship it to them. So e-commerce has 2 steps that involve pretty much the same thing as a B2B kind of company. So look, those are the 2 questions that I've gotten. I really enjoyed my first live broadcast, and this is recorded, and however long it takes, I'll post it back on Facebook, and to whatever extent, link to it from LinkedIn if they allow me to do such a thing. But I've enjoyed this. I hope to do another one. Offline, please send me your comments and your feedback and suggestions. I would enjoy hearing them. With that, I wish you a very good evening, and I hope you all have a happy and joyous July 4th holiday. Great to talk to you.